Hello listeners, and welcome to the fourth program in our series, Let's Learn Life Science, which is produced for grade 9 learners and anybody else who has an interest in the subject. My name is Mr. Hanganini Levine Wheeler, and today we will learn about reproduction in females. Please have a note and a pen ready so that you can make notes of the important points. After listening to this program, you should be able to identify the structure of the female reproductive system, outline the functions of each part of female reproduction system, and discuss the effects of estrogen and progesterone in the development of secondary sexual characteristics at puberty. The human reproduction and reproduction in general can be a very sensitive issue for some people to discuss and to talk about openly. Some people often do not understand the process. Therefore, I invited two life skills coaches to the studio today. They go to different schools to teach learners about topics related to female reproductive health and the well-being of young adults. So ladies, please, may you introduce yourselves?
Thank you for having us. My name is Learn.
And I'm Hilde.
Welcome guys to the studio.
Thank you.
Well, today we want to look at the female reproductive system. I think it would be best to discuss the structure of the female reproductive system and the functions of the different parts.
Great. I'll start. I'm very straightforward and I call a spade, plain in black and white. I don't mean to scare anyone. Stay put, you'll enjoy it, I promise. The main organs of the female reproductive system include 2 ovaries, 2 fallopian tubes, a uterus, and the vagina.
Eish! I just perceive you are not one of those who calls the vagina a cookie or any other those petty names.
No. How will you know the real thing if you are not even referring to it by its real name? There's no need to be shy about it, and I believe that if we use the scientific names, everyone will be comfortable with it and discuss it openly. We do not have to shy away from it, neither are we insulting anybody. Instead, we are educating each other.
This world has moved away from avoiding the topic to rather discussing it openly and embracing the knowledge. So, the main functions of the female reproductive organs mentioned by Hilde are to produce female sex cells and to hold and protect the glowing embryo during pregnancy.
Alright, you are hearing it for yourself. The organs and the functions. So let's get into more details about the functioning.
Okay, so the ovaries produce the hormones, estrogen and progesterone, that control the menstrual cycle, and the ovaries contain many egg cells.
I understand. An egg cell is also called an ovum, and the plural is ova.
That's right. The released ovum is carried along the fallopian tubes. The ovum is carried from the ovaries towards the uterus by the fallopian tubes.
When I was in school, I used to confuse the ureter and the uterus. Let me explain, just in case there is someone out there struggling with the same confusion. The uterus is a pear-shaped structure where the embryo develops during pregnancy. And the ureter, on the other hand, is a part of a different organ system in the body, the excretory system, and it transports urine from the kidney to the bladder.
And to add to that, the uterus has strong muscular walls and a soft spongy tissue layer that lines the inner lining of the uterus. This layer is called the endometrium. That's where the fertilized ovum attaches itself if fertilization occurred.
Okay, if fertilization occurred, the fertilized egg attaches and implants in the lining of the uterus, and that is where the fetus develops and grows. We spoke about the functions of the ovaries, fallopian tubes, and uterus, but we haven't yet stated the function of the vagina. Len, would you like to continue?
Sure. Before the vagina, we also have the opening of the uterus. At the base of the uterus, there is a ring of muscle called the cervix, which leads to the vagina. The cervix produces fluid into the vagina to keep it moist. The vagina has muscular walls that stretch during childbirth. The vagina also receives the penis during sexual intercourse.
Nowadays, it is amazing to see how young people embrace their body and are committed to building a healthy-looking body. When I was growing up, growth was an embarrassment because adults used the puberty stage to tease you. That stage was challenging for me to get through because my body changed a lot. I was also not comfortable with my body changes. Ladies, can you talk a little bit about the stages most girls don't like?
Okay. Well, puberty is a stage where a girl transitions into an adolescent. In females, puberty can start between 8 to 13 years of age. Girls grow faster and their bodies develop earlier compared to boys.
I learned that these physical changes in one's body are caused by hormones produced in the body. Len, can you please explain how this happens?
Of course, this is how it happens. These hormones are released into the body by the endocrine glands. In females, puberty starts when the ovaries produce the sex hormone estrogen. The physical changes, called the secondary sexual characteristics that are controlled by estrogen, include enlarged breast, the growth of body hair, wider hips, and the start of menstruation.
This stage can be frustrating for many teenagers. I am glad that an opportunity such as this arises so that we can talk about it and embrace growth and development.
Estrogen also causes the ovaries to release ova or eggs. Estrogen and progesterone cause the endometrium to thicken and become spongy during the menstrual cycle.
These two hormones, estrogen and progesterone, both play a part in preparing and thickening the endometrium or uterus lining for implantation of the fertilized egg.
Wow! Time flies when you are having fun. We had such an informative and open discussion today. But before we sign off, let's recap today's main points. The main organs in the female reproductive system include 2 ovaries, 2 fallopian tubes, and a uterus and the vagina. The functions of the female reproductive organs are to produce female sex cells and to hold and protect the growing embryo during pregnancy. The ovaries produce the hormones estrogen and progesterone that control the menstrual cycle. The ovary contains many egg cells. The fallopian tubes carries the ovum towards the uterus after the ovum is released from the ovaries. The uterus is a pear-shaped structure where the embryo develops during pregnancy. The uterus has strong muscular walls and a soft, spongy tissue layer that lines the inner lining of the uterus called the endometrium. The fertilized ovum attaches itself to the endometrium if fertilization occurs. At the base of the uterus, there is a ring of muscle called the cervix, which leads to the vagina. The cervix produces fluid into the vagina to keep it moist. The vagina has muscular walls that stretch during childbirth. The vagina also receives the penis during sexual intercourse. Puberty is the stage where a girl transitions into an adolescent. In females, puberty can start between 8 to 13 years of age. In females, puberty starts when the ovary produces the sex hormones estrogen. The second sexual characteristics controlled by estrogen include enlarged breasts, growth of body hair, wider hips, and the start of menstruation. Estrogen causes the ovaries to release ova or eggs. Estrogen and progesterone cause the endometrium to thicken and become spongy during the menstrual cycle. These 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone, both play a part in preparing and thickening the endometrium for implantation of the fertilized egg. And before we say goodbye, here are your questions for today. Number 1, identify the part of the female reproductive system where the embryo develops. And number 2, list any 2 of the female reproductive system organs and state their functions. This program was written by Shiwa Kambata. Until we meet again for the next topic, take care.
This program was brought to you by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture and the Commonwealth of Learning.